which is one of the larger wellness centers in the country. And we have hundreds of people coming through our program. Our main thing was weight loss and diabetes, so I'll share some of that with you tonight. But I've also toured all over the country for quite a few years now, doing events like this and lectures. And I think we're up to about 2,800 locations in all the different countries in here that I've been to. So I get to see what a crazy, nutty world this is. And it's getting nuttier by the day. Oh man, it's crazy out there. I mean, whoever came up with this phrase, never trust a skinny chef? I mean, really, should we never trust a fat chef? Now, I probably couldn't have said that 75 pounds ago. I showed some people my picture earlier. I've lost about 75 pounds. I still got about 20, 25 to go. I'd like to lose that last 25. I'm really working on it this year. But I do want to point something out, okay? Excess weight comes from excess sugars, excess fats, excess calories, lack of exercise, metabolism sometimes has something to do with it. Hereditary hardly ever has anything to do with it. You know, it's not hereditary when you're eating the same unhealthy pork chops that your parents were, okay? But people want to call it a hereditary thing. And now if you want to lose a quick 20, 25 pounds, do it the easy way. Just wear black. That's the way you do it. Just wear black, absolutely. Now you have gray on today, right? But you see the black sides? Yeah, that just hides everything. It's like a designer black. Like, I'm learning designer fashion, how you lose weight with fashion. So, but we're going to show you how to lose some real weight. It's not science, okay? Now, if you don't know what a wellness center is, that's a place where people go to get healthy. And most wellness centers charge $6,000 to $7,000 for the information that I'm sharing with you tonight. Okay, so you don't have to pay $6,000. We're going to show you exactly what it's like to go through a wellness center. That's what we're doing today, is just giving you the journey of what it's like to go through a wellness center. And you do have to get some food cooking here. Right here, I have white beans. Okay, I soaked them, drained them, cooked them. It's about half full right now. And every wellness center in the country, all these major wellness centers, serve white beans for breakfast every single morning. So they want you to start eating a half a cup to a cup of white beans every morning for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to show you a simple way to do white beans, but there's lots of different varieties. You think it'd be boring, but you can do rosemary, you can do lots of different varieties. These are navy white beans, you've got small whites, you've got great northerns, you've got cannellini beans, chickpeas, so you can have some pretty good variety. All you have to do really is put a little bit of salt in there, and it'd be great. You're done. And you're gonna have really good flavor. I'm gonna add a couple more ingredients today, just to have some fun here. Some garlic and onion. Make sure you measure everything precisely, okay? Because everything's got to be measured precisely. A little more? As long as you know the ratio, you can do that, okay? And what it is it's 1 part garlic, 2 parts onion. Just remember that ratio, 1 part garlic, 2 parts onion. That works great with all your soups and sauces. Yeah, 1 part garlic, 2 parts onion. Now, onion, here's an interesting part, because you can take some fresh onions and blend them and put them in here. Or, fresh tastes different than the powder, okay? And technically, there's 5 flavors to an onion, officially, okay? Raw, translucent, golden, brown, and dark brown. That's the 5 official flavors of an onion, and every one of them tastes completely different. So if you were to saute or water saute and caramelize your onions and you can roast them, you're going to get a totally different flavor, which is going to change the flavor of whatever you're making here. So, so garlic and onion works real good. Then we'll load up with a whole bunch of cayenne pepper. No. More? No. But you, more. Her thumb is up. Is that enough? Okay, I'll stop. I'll stop right there. Well, yeah. Cayenne pepper. This is one of those secret ingredients that all the wellness centers are using. And most of them have this on the tables for every single meal. They want you using cayenne pepper for every single meal. Because what it does is it reduces inflammation. So if you have joint pain and things like that, it's going to really help. And it increases your blood circulation. This stuff is fabulous. In fact, we actually put this, we'll take saran wrap. Like if you have neuropathy of the feet, take saran wrap, put some olive oil on it, sprinkle the saran wrap with the cayenne pepper, wrap it around your feet, put your sock on, leave it overnight, and it helps the blood circulation in your feet. I mean, this is a game changer right there. That's one of the real good secrets of the wellness centers right there. Okay, over here, we're going to make some sausage patties. Now these sausage patties, I'm going to do a half a batch. So on your recipe sheet, that's a full batch. We're just going to do a half batch tonight. And I've got the water in here already boiling. This right here is Bragg's Liquid Aminos. Now you can use soy sauce if you want, but soy sauce has wheat in it. And we're finding out that the wheat that's here in America is so hybridized now that it's creating inflammation. So people with arthritis and joint pain, we get rid of the wheat, and really in about a month or two, all their joint pains are going away. They're having huge, huge success. Stomach issues, I mean, it's really good. So I do use the Bragg's Liquid Aminos. Garlic and onion, you know the ratio. It's going to be 1 part garlic and 2 parts onion. And then I've got a little chicken style seasoning, which is a vegan chicken style seasoning there. By the way, if you're a celiac or gluten free, you can eat everything up here today. So everything here is gluten free today. Now here's your flavor. We've got some rosemary, your sage, and your fennel seeds. A lot of people miss the fennel seeds, but that's your secret ingredient that really gives it that sausage flavor that you want. I do have some liquid smoke here, which you can get in any grocery store, and that's good for flavor and aroma. This right here, you got to be careful with. This is the red pepper flakes. If you get fresh red pepper flakes from the grocery store, they look oily. They're really red. They're powerful. But if it's been sitting in your cupboard for 20 years, all dried out, it's lost a lot of its potency, so it's not going to be near as hot. But the red pepper flakes go good, and a little bit of salt. So, I need walnuts in there too. Yeah, walnuts. What I do with the walnuts here, I just chop them up in a food processor, just make a little zip, and then we're good to go. And then I'll put my lid back on there. You like my lid? Yeah. That's what restaurants use. That's what we use. Absolutely. That's the gourmet lid. So let's journey through a wellness center. When you get there the first day, we're going to do a little range of motion test because we want to know what your range of motion is. And some people will be like, oh, I've got a 4 for pain, I've got a 6 for pain, I can't even go any higher than that, it's a 10. You know, we're getting a range of motion test, okay? Because we want to know where you're at physically. And then every single morning we're going to do stretching, okay? We're going to stretch every single morning for 15 to 20 minutes. Stretching is free. It doesn't cost you anything. But if you don't stretch every day, it's going to cost you a lot of physical problems over the years. And the older you get, the more important stretching is. Now, you can start at the top and work your way down. That's kind of what I do. You know these muscles on the sides of your neck here, these big muscles? That's your sternocleidomastoid. Actually affects breathing. And when people have trouble breathing, we're making sure to stretch that. You can put your hands behind your back, and if you just stretch this way, you'll feel that muscle. Now, when you're stretching, you don't want to bounce, okay? You don't want to go boing, 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 because what happens is you're stretching too far, and then the muscles don't go back into their position, and you get inflammation. So you just want to go as far out. And normally what you would do is you're going to stretch like this for about a minute, half a minute, and then you should be able to go a little bit farther. And, you know, of course, you can do your neck turns, and there's so many websites and YouTubes that you can get stretching. You know, you can stretch your chest muscles. You go this way, you can stretch your back muscles, you know, your legs, and of course, if you go down to Florida, they got the flamingo. So, and lot of you might not be able to do this, so you might want to grab onto something. You can go down on the ground and stretch, sit and make sure you stretch every muscle. Here's what's going to happen. First couple days you're doing this, you're kind of like, oh, I gotta be kind of stretch. And then you're having trouble getting up or something. And within a day or two, you're going to be like, I got a sore muscle here. We're looking for those indicators because we know there's something that needs to be worked on. So when you're stretching like that and you're going to find a sore spot, don't let that discourage you. Keep stretching. You know that's something you need to work on and maybe exercise a little bit in that particular area. Now within 2 to 3 weeks, your mobility has just day and night. It is amazing how much success we have just by getting people stretching. And it didn't cost you anything. 10, 20 minutes a day, and you're going to feel so much better within a couple weeks. The other thing we do every single morning is lemon water. So you're going to take a whole lemon, squeeze it into a pint or a quart of water, either one. If you're a big water drinker, I put it in a quart. And you can add some sweetener to it if you want. We use the stevia, the organic, which you can grow. If you grow stevia, it grows like crazy. And you can just dry it and blend it up in a coffee grinder. And so lemon water every single morning. Okay. What this does, it gives you an alkaline body, which prevents cancer, and it gets your entire digestive system getting ready to roll for the rest of the day. So that's a really important thing to do. Now this is boiling pretty good. I'm going to get a wire lip here and stir it up a little bit. Most wellness centers, what they would do is get right to work on you. I mean, they're going to do lots of treatments, and they might put you in hyperbaric chambers and things like that. What I like to do the first time people get to the wellness center is actually just take them on an adventure. Let's just go have some fun. Most people that come in there, they're in a toxic lifestyle. Their home is toxic, their work environment, their relationships, they live on their cell phone, whatever it might be, they're just stressed out. And I'm telling you right now, if you're stressed out about losing weight, which most of the people were when they went there, you're not going to lose weight. You don't lose weight when you're stressed out because your cortisol levels are so high that it's gripping onto those fat cells, saying, I'm not letting you go. So if you can drop those cortisol levels, it's a huge benefit. There are studies out there that show just by going to a museum and seeing somebody else's creations will drop your cortisol levels by 67% immediately. It's that fast to drop your cortisol levels. So I'll take them out in God's country. Let's go show them some unique formations and go to Mount Rushmore, whatever it might be, and just have fun for the first day. Get them off their cell phones, get them away from the environment that they've been living in. And there's two principles. This is good. There's two principles that most wellness centers have some form of. And the number one principle is never compare yourself to others. When you start comparing yourself to others, it's going to raise your cortisol levels. When you think that your health and your weight or your looks or your finance situation, whatever it might be, is not as good as somebody else's or better than somebody else's, it still has the same effect, okay? So never compare yourself to others. Comparison is the thief of joy. So that's rule number one, just never compare yourself to others. And if you can simply realize that God loves you exactly the way you are right now, today, it's almost like a weight off your shoulders. You can just breathe. It's like, okay, I'm fine. I don't care what other people think about me. So that's rule number one. And then the second principle is to simply do the best you can with where you're at today. That's all anybody's asking. Just do the best you can today with where you're at. So if you can do the best you can today with health, it could be with finance, You know, it could be with relationships, whatever it might be. You know, if you've got finance problems, you should not be sitting there on Amazon buying stuff, right? Now, at the end of the day, if you've been shopping all day, you're going to look back at your day and say, well, I didn't do very good today. And so now you're going to say, well, we've got a new day. So the next day, if you do really good and you didn't go out there shopping, now you can get at the end of the day and say, okay, I did a good job today. I didn't go shopping, or I ate the way I should eat today. Now you can kind of say, okay, that was good. We had a good day today. And it'll help you sleep better, and it gives you a better momentum for the next day. The reason people do 3-week programs at these wellness centers is because it takes 3 weeks to either break a habit or 3 weeks to start a new habit. So you've got to be consistent for a good 3 weeks to change a habit. And once you get that habit changed, you're good to go. So that's what it takes. You know, just be consistent and persistent, and you will be there. All right. This is done pretty good. It's boiled and steamed up pretty good. So we're going to add these other 2 ingredients. This right here is Quick Oats. No, this is Steel Cut. This is the Steel Cut Quick Oats. If you're using steel cut oats that are not the quick steel cut oats, you're going to want to simmer this for about 10 or 15 minutes to let those steel cuts really get absorbed right. And but since I'm using the quick oats, I can do this right away, the steel cut. And then this right here, I actually took some oats, put them in a food processor. And you don't want to turn it into flour. If you turn it into flour, you end up where the sausages are really gummy. The texture is really gooey. But if you just put in like whole rolled oats without giving them a little food processor work, then they just fall apart because they don't stick together. So you kind of got to get that sweet spot in between. I just give it some pulses in a food processor. And I'm only putting this in a little bit at a time, because if you put it in all at once, it's just a mess. So you just put it in a little bit at a time. And I've got to the point where I can look at it and say, okay, I've got enough in there, I'm going to stop. You know, I'm not going to put any more in there. But you can see how wet it is. So I know I can put a little bit more in there. And that should be just right today. Yay. And yeah, this is definitely, it'll thicken up really quick though. So we're going to just let this rest here for a few minutes after I get the rest mixed in. So anyway, that's day 1 at the Wellness Center. You're just going to go have fun, get yourself relaxed, and understand God loves you, and let's just move forward one day at a time. The second day, now we're actually going to start working on you. And every wellness center in the country, and I've been to all the major ones, and I've done events at most of them. I've dealt with dozens of doctors. Every other month we have guest doctors coming in to do big events. You know, that's one of the things I really specialized in. And then plus working with other doctors at these other wellness centers. And every wellness center does some form of detoxing. Now what we would do is we would do juicing. We would do 2 juices a day, 1 for breakfast and 1 for lunch. Now most of the wellness centers in the country do 2 meals a day. They're going to do a meal about 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning for breakfast. You know, they have an 11 water first thing. And 8 or 9 for breakfast, and then maybe 3 o'clock for dinner, and that's it. And then they want the rest of the time to be fasting. Sometimes at night, some of the wellness centers will do a onion broth, or they'll have like turmeric tea or ginger tea in between the juicing, that type of thing. But that's about it. And people think, oh, I couldn't handle juicing. I'm a big guy. I eat a lot. I have no problem juicing. When I have that juicing, it's like, it just fills you up and you're not hungry. It's absolutely amazing. Now, if you're going to juice, we're talking vegetables here. Only 1/3 of this or less should be in the form of carrots or beets. because you still don't want all that sugar. Okay. The rest of it, it's all going to be carrot. It's all going to be cucumbers, kale. You can use any type of lettuces, celery, radishes. I mean, you can just basically go to town with what you put in there. We'll even do ginger or turmeric or things like that. And then I usually put a little bit of Celtic salt in there. The Celtic salt will give it a nice flavor. And the Celtic salt has 84 minerals, 87, I think it's 87 minerals. And it really helps the juicing absorb into the cells, which is why people do juicing. So that's what you do. You know, one for breakfast, one for lunch, and so you're juicing. I did find one wellness center that did some fruit juicing. I don't recommend that just because you don't want all that sugar. There's another wellness center that actually did nothing but rice for 3 to 5 days, depending on how long you're ready to be there. Nothing but rice. It wasn't flavored. No flavoring at all in it. After 3 days, you're looking for some cardboard to eat. It was horrible. It was like, oh, and that's what they want to do. They want to take your taste buds. And normally, if you're eating a SAD American diet, SAD, SAD, Standard American diet, it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to get your taste buds working the way they're supposed to, because they're so coated with fat and cholesterol and saturated fat. And once you get your taste buds working right, the food will taste better. You know? I can't believe I used to eat the way I used to eat. The only way I used to have a salad is if it was on a cheeseburger. Okay, that's the way I ate my salads before. But now I love salads without even any dressing on them. I mean, I'll put some lemon on it, I'll put some avocado and things, and you know, so you get so much flavor, but your taste buds are working right. So it does take a few weeks to change your taste buds. Yeah, if you can do the juicing, I'm going to share with you the secret though to every single wellness center's juicing. That's been pretty good, isn't it? Okay. The secret, because you don't have to go spend $700 on a juicer, which is about what it costs for a good juicer. So I'm going to share the secret with you. And about every single wellness center, the secret to detoxing is to just go completely oil-free for 3 days. No fats or oils whatsoever. No olive oil, no coconut oil, no avocados, no peanut butter. So because you don't want the calories from fat either. So you would do nothing but vegetables and salads and maybe some fruit, nothing, with no butter, none of that topping stuff for 3 days. And that will detox your body. How does this work? It's because we have to have the right amount of oxygen in our blood. That's our filtering system. But when you coat your blood with all this fat and animal fat, then your blood does not get the right amount of oxygen it needs, and it does not filter out all these harmful particles. And look at cancer cells. Cancer comes in, and it says, hey man, this is all right. I'm going to hang out here. Nobody's kicking me out. Because people's cells are so coated with fat that it's not going to kick out those cancer cells. And then your cancer cells are like, this is great, man. I'm going to invite some friends over. Come on over, guys. Cancer's hanging out in this department. They have a party. They're like, hey, let's start multiplying. And that's what happens. So if you can do a detox like this, once a month would be great. Once every other month, just commit to 3 days, 4 days, with no fats or oils whatsoever, and that's going to detox. You're going to have better complexion. I mean, it just works. It's just a great thing. That detoxing. All right, I'm going to take this scooper here and start scooping up these right here on the sheet. This is the number 30 scooper. Of course, you can make these any size you want to. And just to let you know, I'm actually the youngest of 6 kids. All my brothers and sisters are 300 to 400 pounds. pounds. Two brothers that are over 400 pounds. My sister died at the age of 54 from cancer. My mom died at 72 from cancer. We lived the most unhealthy lifestyle you can think of. Bacon and eggs every morning, hamburger helper, hamburgers, chicken, pork chops, lots of candy bars, lots of potato chip, lots of sodas. My mom was drinking that diet soda half a dozen a day. And with the aspartame in it, which they know that's where she got her cancer from. Because the aspartame that's in the diet sodas causes cancer. And so I'm really thankful God showed me a better way to eat.
Amen.
My brother Paul, he had a cholesterol level of 1,000. He had a heart attack, went in the hospital, they put in a stent. Next morning for breakfast, they gave him bacon and eggs. Cardiac patient, bacon and eggs. And they did that multiple times to him. And so I went there, stayed with him for 3 weeks, put him on an all vegan, vegetarian, plant strong diet. And 3 weeks later, his cholesterol, well, it was at 900 when I got there. And he was on the statins. And 3 weeks later, his cholesterol was down to 300 and change, with no statins. He was feeling better. It's like, man, this is great. And so that was right before I was here last time. I was here many years ago. And so it's been about 8 years for him. He's got his cholesterol down to 170. He's lost over 100 pounds. Now, what I did for him is what you all need to do, and that is get your kitchens designed for success. Look, people can come to a wellness center. We can teach you everything you need to know, but if you go back home and don't make any changes, you just lost $6,000. You know, so you got to get out there and literally change the way you do things. But he's doing really good. He's doing good. Yeah, get your kitchens designed for success. Look, if everything in your kitchen is unhealthy, or if everything in your kitchen is healthy, let's say you have a whole kitchen full of, well, no, if it's unhealthy, let's go that way. If it's unhealthy, all the junk food and stuff, and you bring home a carrot, how long is that carrot going to be in the fridge?
Forever.
Yeah, it'll turn to rubber. You'll put it in those drawers down below where good intentions go to die, right? The little caskets, they're caskets that you open up. See if anything's alive in there, and then you close them real quick and something was moving, you know. That's what people do with those things. They put all their good food and then they never look again. You know, and so I'm not doing that today, but I've got classes showing you exactly how to get your kitchen set up for success. So you can go on my YouTube channel, and I've got a dozen videos showing you exactly how to set up your refrigerator, your freezers, your cupboards, everything. It's like 12 videos showing you exactly how to get your kitchen set up for success. So I've got a spatula here with some water, just because I'm going to press down these meatballs. See, those are meatballs right now. You can make meatballs that way, but you need to change the flavor. Put Italian flavoring in it instead of breakfast sausage. But since I'm making sausage, I'm just pressing them down, and this keeps them from sticking. See how that works? And they're all pretty consistent, aren't they? So that's what you do, just like that. And these would go in the oven at 350 degrees. I usually run about 15 minutes, and then I'll switch the pans. I'll just kind of switch the pans for another 15 minutes. So, now my brother Wayne, he owns a cattle farm in Wyoming, so he's not that interested in getting healthy. But we went and visited him a couple years ago, my wife and I, and he goes up to those cows and he just gives them a hug. You know, he's like, "Hey, little cow, how you doing?" He talks to them and scratches their ears. They're like his pets, you know, these big cows, you know. Then he decides which one he wants to eat. Yes. That's my brother, Corey. He called me up a while ago though, and he says, Mark, we've been eating veggie burgers for the last few weeks. And I thought, great. You know, maybe he saw me lose 75 pounds, and then he sees Brother Paul was 100. I thought maybe Wayne was going to get help. He's eating veggie burgers. And then he said, Mother Cow, I named him Black Bean. So the next month we're having black bean burgers, black bean steaks. It's like, no, that doesn't count. So. All right, the next secret for the wellness centers. Let me share with you the biggest secret for the wellness centers that they do is you've got to reduce the fats and oils. Now, type 2 diabetics, if you want to reverse type 2 diabetes, every single one of these wellness centers can reverse your type 2 diabetes within 3 weeks. You're completely off your meds in 3 weeks. It is so fast and so easy, 99% of the time, we're reversing diabetes, getting you completely off your meds in 3 weeks. How do we do that? We eliminate the fats and oils. That's it. You eliminate the fats and oils and the calories from fat, and within 3 weeks, you're off your meds. Within another couple of weeks, your diabetes has been completely reversed, and then you'll want to reintroduce some good fats and oils. You know, some olive oil or coconut oil, but it doesn't take a lot, okay? So with diabetics, that's what we do. We get rid of the fats and oils, and then we want to watch out for those high glycemic foods. Ones that are going to spike your blood sugar and then crash and spike and crash. And see, this is what people are doing. They have this sugary coffee drink in the morning, and then they crash, and then they need a jelly donut, and then they crash, and now we need something like a Snickers bar, and then they crash. Then they're going to have some sandwich with some bread, which white wheat bread has a higher glycemic level than white bread. It's worse for you. People are, oh, I'm going to have the whole wheat. No, it's worse for you. And so, this is what's happening out there. We need foods that are going to be more stable, that releases its energy, that gives you a longer shelf life, not the stuff that spikes and crashes. Now, everybody's going to be a little bit different because this person might be spiking on potatoes and nobody else does. Or this person might be spiking on raspberries, as weird as it may be. So you've got to kind of know that there's charts out there, but they're not consistent because every body is a little bit different. But you've got to get rid of the fats and oils. That's the number one problem we have in society today. The cause of type 2 diabetes, it's not sugar and it's not carbs. You have a reaction to sugar and carbs because you have diabetes, but it's actually caused by the fats and oils. And let me share this with you real quick here. This is the USDA Census Bureau, federal government Census Bureau. National average for vegetable oil alone is 10.2 pounds per person per month. That's 2 of these that the average person consumes just in vegetable oil. That's not counting all the butter and the meat and the fat and everything else that they're getting. This is like calories with no nutritional value whatsoever. That's the problem. We're getting massively bombarded by fats and oils. And I'm going to share with you why. There's a book out here, it's called The End of Overeating. This is Dr. David Kessler. He was the head of the Food and Drug Administration. He found out that the manufacturers of food hire scientists to find out how to make that food as addictive as possible. So whatever they have to do to make that food addictive, they're going to do it. All the fast food restaurants hire scientists. Even the hamburger bun alone at McDonald's is specifically designed for addiction. You can eat a big meal, go to McDonald's and just eat the bun. You'll immediately be hungry. Yeah, they're designed for addiction. Well, they found out that there's an exact combination of sugar, oil, and salt. And if you get that exact combination of sugar, oil, and salt, it'll trigger your endorphins to desire that product. Even if all you do is see a picture of that food a month later. A month later, you're still addicted to it. Isn't that amazing? I mean, if I put this bag up here long enough, people's mouths are going to start salivating. Then they know the flavor. We had a couple kids, this was a couple events ago. a few months ago, and two little kids, they came in, they saw this package, they had a physical temper tantrum because they couldn't eat them. And the parent had to take them out of the room. They were physically in pain because they were so addicted to these. And these are all filled with sugar, oil, and salt. And check this out. This is 50% calories from fat. 50%. This one here, 60% calories from fat. I had to replace them because my last bags were dripping grease out of the bottoms of them. I had them so long. They were dripping grease. I had to go get new bags. Yeah. I mean, this one here is 2,700 calories. This one here is 2,400 calories. It would take 15 pounds of potatoes to get the same amount of calories as these 2 bags of chips.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? So that's where you gotta watch out, is the fat. Now here's the bad part. They changed the labels on us a few years ago. I don't know if you know this, but these are the new labels. The only thing that was removed from the new labels, the calories from fat. The number one problem we have in society today, the cause of obesity, the cause of type 2 diabetes, the cause of most of the cancers, is the overload of oil. And that's the only thing they took off the label, the calories from fat. I call this the dumbing down of America. They do not want you knowing how much fat is in here because you wouldn't buy it. Now there is a way to do this, but you have to learn some math, okay? So here's how it works. The total fat is still here. You take the total fat, multiply it times 9, that would give you the calories from fat. So the total fat here is 8 grams. Times 9, 72. So you have 72 calories from fat and 150 calories. So it's 50% calories from fat, 50% oil, basically.
Right.
So the best doctors in the world will tell you that your calories from fat needs to be less than 10%. I've seen them down to 5. Some people say 15, but the bottom line is you're getting stuff that's 50%, 100% calories from fat. There's your weight gainers. Activating the liver. Check this out. Y'all, you ever get this hummus in the grocery stores? Sambra, there's different brands, you know. 77% calories from fat. They are selling you flavored oil and passing it off as health food. It's just colored oil. That's what they're selling you. 77% fat. Make hummus at home. How tough is it to blend up some chickpeas in a food processor? And you're not going to have all the fat. And if you want to make it creamy, like it was made with fat, take those chickpeas, add some white beans. If you add about 30% white beans to your chickpeas, it will give it the illusion like it was made with oil. That's the secret. So, you know, put your lemon and garlic and everything else in it. So that's one of the biggest issues we have, is getting rid of all this fat. And I understand good fats. I really do understand good fats. But we're getting bombarded by these fats. And that's the problem. Okay, I gotta get back to work here. All right, we're gonna do some oats in a jar. I've got the milk here. And this is a carrot cake, oats in a jar without the carrots, because I'm missing carrots. That's what happens when I'm traveling. So we've got some yogurts here. And I like the Silk brand. There's some good brands out there. Oh, there's my thing right there. There's my washcloth, okay? And there's my spoon. What you're going to find out is that my recipes make sense. Because the recipe calls for 1 cup of yogurt. Well, these are half-cup portions. So you're not left over with half the portion or something like that. You ever get these recipes? You know, it says like 1 cup of tomatoes, and you end up with like this much left in the can. Yes, it's crazy. So I try to make sure the recipes make sense.
Is that vanilla flavor?
This is vanilla. You can use vanilla or plain, either one. What else do we need? I don't have my sheet up here. Maple syrup, right? Is it 1 gallon of maple syrup or? Third of a cup. Okay, you guys just say, well, I'll do a third of a cup here. teaspoon?
You can never have.
Okay, just say when.
Just or. Good, it's good.
Sure? You said you need more? It'll get bitter if you do too much, though. All right, fine, I'm gonna do it myself here. I got spoons, so. All right, so it's a teaspoon of cinnamon. I think I know that one. So we do a teaspoon of cinnamon. By the way, I love these spoons. Teaspoon of ginger. People like ginger and oats? Yes, ginger. And by the way, look at these spoons. See, these spoons are so nice because they'll fit down in the jar. Half a teaspoon here. You know, get these long ones. They fit in the jars. You know, those little short fat ones, I don't like those. And what else? Is that it?
Salt.
Salt. I got the salt right here. Okay. We're going to give this a spin. We've got the nutmeg, ginger, everything in here. If you're going to spin at home, if you're going around in a circle like this, you're basically just moving all the food around in a circle. So you want to go back and forth, left and right, left and right. This is where you get the action that really whips it together. You can still go around and hit the edges and stuff, but you want to go left and right. It's so much faster and it incorporates everything so much better. So go left and right. Okay. And then we're going to add the oats, which I have half quick oats and half regular oats here. You can use either one. I make a big container for my road trips, and so it's just half and half, but any kind of oats works fine like that. We've got some walnuts that I crushed, some raisins. Hey, get back in here. And then the chia seeds, right? By the way, chia seeds have your highest omega-3s of anything out there. That's your chia seeds. All right, we'll give this a stir. But speaking of oils, I'm going to share this with you real quick here because I believe we have a perfect God. And if you look back years ago, look at this planet, okay? The planet, yeah, it's going to be really wet here for a minute. All your coconut oil is around the equator, right? You start going farther north or south, you're going to get your avocados. You go farther north or south, now you're going to get your olives, your olive oils. You got to go farther north or south to get your nuts, your walnuts and your nut oils. You got to get all the way to Canada to get your chia seeds or your flax seeds, okay? So your thicker oils are around the equator. And the oils get thinner and thinner and thinner as they go north or south. You know, now look at people, okay? People that live around the equator have thinner blood. So God had a perfect thicker oil for their bodies. You go farther north, look at Alaska. They have much thicker blood. They need that thinner oil. I mean, even the walrus is omega-3s. The walruses are eating the algae. That's omega-3. So they're getting that thinner blood. Because you look back thousands of years ago, when people were living 1,000 years, they weren't having oil shipped all over the world. They just had whatever oils were in the region that they lived. Isn't that amazing? I just think that's really amazing. So, but nowadays, what do we have? Central heat, central air conditioning, air-conditioned vehicles. We've got planes that'll fly oils all over the world. You know, so we really don't need a lot of oil. You don't. I mean, very little bit. If you had a teaspoon of oil a day, that'd be plenty. 1 teaspoon of ground flaxseed has all the omega-3s you need for an entire day. I put it in my cereals. Yeah, you don't need to be chuckle-lugging 10W40 all day long like some people are doing. You know, it's crazy. That's what they're doing. All right, next secret is the carbs. We need to eat more carbs. This is what the wellness centers do. They load you up on carbs. You got to have more carbs. Now, I'm assuming that when doctors tell you to stay away from carbs, that they're assuming that you know the difference between complex carbs and simple carbs. All right? We don't need those simple carbs like potato chips. You know, eat the potato, not the potato chip. So that's a lot of assuming, right? Because no doctor, no intelligent doctor is ever going to tell you to stay away from carbs if they're smart, if they're a smart doctor. And I'm going to share with you why. Quinoa, 21% carbs, that's healthy, right? Oats is 66% carbs. Bananas is 23% carbs. Potatoes is only 20% carbs. Beets is 10%. Blueberries, 14% carbs. Kidney beans, 22% carbs. Chickpeas is 27% carbs. Are you telling me I'm supposed to stay away from these healthy foods? Kale, 7 grams of carbs. Watermelon, 21 grams of carbs. Celery has 3 grams of carbs. There are carbs in everything. This was the best marketing campaign I've ever seen in the history of this planet, is to tell people to stay away from carbs. Because if you are going to stay away from carbs, what is the only food you could eat? Meat. Exactly. The meat industry hit a jackpot on this one. Hey, tell people to stay away from carbs. We get a few doctors to tell people to stay away from carbs, and all of a sudden all the minions all over the webs and the internet, stay away from carbs, stay away from carbs, and everybody's staying away from carbs. The only thing left to eat is meat. Great marketing strategy. Money-making marketing strategy. Those people were geniuses. It's called priming. They are priming you to buy their product. That's what they do. That's their job. Let's prime you to make sure that you're always going to say, well, meat doesn't have any carbs. I'll eat meat. You know, that's what they're going to do. So anyway, here, this is the starch solution. Dr. McDougall. He shows where 70% of your diet needs to be carbs and starches. The low-carb fraud. This is Dr. T. Colin Campbell. He wrote the China study. Real quick read, why you need to eat more carbs. The low-carb myth, Dr. Ari Whitten and Wayne Smith, New York Times bestseller right here, with 490 sources showing why you need to eat more carbs. The people that eat the most carbs have the least amount of sickness and disease. It's a scientific fact. They just came out with studies in Sweden showing that the people that eat the most potatoes have the least amount of heart disease. Yeah, everywhere you go. And so all the wellness centers are saying, hey, let's get these people on carbs because that's a healthy fuel for the body. We want that healthy fuel for the body, not the fat that burns carcinogenic, not the sugar that burns carcinogenic. We need good fuel that turns into glucose that the body can use for fuel. And that's what you want. In fact, just to share this little note with you, the frontal lobe, I didn't put carrots in here, by the way. I forgot the carrots. So we're having carrot cake oats without carrots. The frontal lobe, okay, y'all know that's your connection with God? All right. The frontal lobe, the best fuel for the frontal lobe is your healthy carbs. So who's really telling you to stay away from carbs? That's Satan. Saying you stay away from carbs, your frontal lobe is not going to work, so you don't have a good connection with God. Now here, check this out. The frontal lobe, which is your connection with God, guess what blocks the frontal lobe from getting the fuel that it needs? Fats. Saturated fats. So who's really telling you to go on this keto diet, this paleo diet, this, whatever caveman diet is next? That's Satan saying, hey, I need to block that connection with God. So it's kind of interesting. I think it's interesting. All right. I'm going to share with you one more little secret here. I'm going to put this, in fact, this is a little on the website. So I'm going to go like this, with my big mixture. It's probably because I don't have the carrots in there.
The carrots make it.
No, it just needs to be thicken up a little bit.
What are the carrots do?
Sometimes the yogurt's a little thinner. It's the flavor. So, okay, one more secret for you that's really going to blow you away. This is amazing. Have any of you ever heard of this word called retrogradation? Okay, retrogradation. A couple of years ago, I did an event. They were having a healthy wellness conference, and it was for 100 doctors. So here's a vegan, plant strong wellness conference for 100 doctors that was being held at the McDonald's headquarters in Chicago. Yeah, McDonald's headquarters doing a vegan conference. And right at their hotel, right on their property in Chicago. And so all their chefs were doing vegan, vegetarian, low-fat food and everything. They did a good job too. They did a good job. And so I was blessed to be able to do the class for these doctors on retrogradation. I had a handful of doctors that knew about it, so that was a good thing. But what it is, it's the process of making foods starch resistant. Now, if you've ever heard of starch resistant foods, that just means that it's more resistant to digestion. It's going to take longer to digest. A green banana takes longer to digest than brown banana. Okay? In fact, a green banana takes more calories to digest than is actually in the banana. So it's great for weight loss. Banana turns brown, starch turns to sugar, increases the calories in it, and it's quicker to digest. But when it comes to retrogradation, what you're going to do is you're going to change what happens to the food. I'll give you an example. Take a baked potato, or a boiled potato, or steamed potato. You know how it's all fluffy and falls apart? What happens if you put it in the fridge? Tightens up, doesn't it? That is retrogradation. That's the process. And that starch-resistant food is going to take much longer to digest. Now this is you can reheat it too, and that's still good. The reason that this is so powerful is, let's say type 2 diabetics. Type 2 diabetics, your fuel is going to last longer throughout the day and release its energy slower. So you're not going to have the spikes and the crashes. You can do this with your beans. You freeze these or refrigerate them. You pull them out in portions as you need them. You can do it with rice. You can do it with potatoes. The fabulous 5. Beans, rice, potatoes, whole grains, and oats. That's your fabulous 5 carbs. So you refrigerate them. You reheat them. They did studies with chickpeas. Found out if they refrigerated, reheated, did that 3 times. It was far more starch resistant than if they just did it once. Now look at society today. What do? Fast food, restaurants. They eat everything fresh. They're not freezing their food. They're not refrigerating. They're not eating leftovers like they used to. And that's the problem. So if you can refrigerate your food and then reheat it, or just eat it refrigerated, you're going to be far better off. So diabetics is fabulous. Now for weight loss, here you go again. You're eating something that is not going to crash you and is slowly releasing its fuel throughout the day. Well, you're not going to be as hungry throughout the day. So that alone is going to have you eat less food throughout the day if you're eating those starch-resistant foods. And then the other game changer here is that eating starch-resistant food prevents celiac disease and leaky gut. Now, most people think that celiac disease is caused by wheat. It's not. You have a reaction to wheat. My wife has a reaction to celery. That's her biggest problem, celery. Because leaky gut, right? Well, that is actually caused by the glyphosate, okay? That's the pesticides that's in a lot of things out there. I mean, water and breathing and everything. A lot of pesticides in food. Well, if you have starch-resistant food, it creates an entire new barrier. You have an entirely different microbiome in your gut that protects your gut from the damage that the pesticides do. So it's a win-win in every way, shape, and form to have that, starch-resistant food. Yeah. So that's what I would do if I was you. And the wellness centers know. They've got the secret. All right, we're going to do some better butter here. Better butter. I've got some water here. The cornmeal. One thing you got to pay attention to the cornmeal is if you're using real cornmeal, it's going to be 6 tablespoons. If you're using that enriched cornmeal, it's going to take 9 tablespoons. So it depends what kind of cornmeal. You'll have to adjust, your recipe. But after you've done it just a couple times, you'll know exactly where it needs to be. So, okay, let me see if I got a can of coconut milk here, coconut cream milk. And then we've got lemon. Like that. I do put some vinegar in here. It does help the flavor and it gives it a longer shelf life. If you don't have the vinegar in there, you got like 1 week to use it. If you put the vinegar in, you got like 2 weeks. Here's nutritional yeast flakes and salt. And then I just do some turmeric for the color. And that's what we do. Now you gotta give this thing a stir. And you got to keep stirring, otherwise it's going to stick to the bottom of the pan. So if I don't keep stirring, I'm in trouble. Yeah, I like those. Aren't those great? These can go in the fridge overnight, and then they're ready to eat tomorrow. And if we're going to eat them tomorrow, yeah, you'll just have to come back in the morning. No, it's just a cold, yeah. And if I'm going on the road, if I'm running out the door, I can just eat a whole one. But if I'm going to have some sausage patties and some beans, I might only eat a third or half of this. Because I won't have to eat the whole thing. But these are great. Keep them in the fridge for about a week, you're good to go on those. So, all right, I'm going to keep stirring that. Hopefully I won't burn anything. And get this watermelon cut. So, cut the outside first, and then we go all the way around the outside. First slice is the toughest. After that, you can kind of figure out where you got to go with everything, and try to keep it clean. All right, don't burn anything. My mom, she didn't get too many watermelons. She did not want to carry them home from the grocery store. That was a big issue. Yeah, we used to carry our groceries home. All right, is it on? Yeah. Don't burn it, don't burn it. We'll get all this out of the way. So if I was home, my wife would be putting this in the compost pile.
Take it out home.
And then we're going to slice this baby in half like this. Once you have it here, it's pretty easy to take care of. We're just going to do a couple slices sideways like this. Of course, if you're going to do this at home, don't put your hand on this side. Okay, keep your hand on top behind the knife. Don't go slicing your fingers off. And then you do slices on the top like this. And you can make these slices as big or as small as you want to. Just like that. And literally, in 1 minute, you got your entire watermelon cut. Is that too easy or what?
I know, I'm looking at Randy.
I should have been a cook. Watch, Pastor. Next time you have a fellowship meal, about 20 people all bring a watermelon. We'll start having watermelon restrictions in this church. Okay, this is starting to thicken up a little bit here. It's been keep stirring. Once it starts boiling, it's usually pretty good to go. There's pineapple, same thing. We're going to cut off both ends. And then we're just cutting off the outside, which is your bitter. That's the bitter part. So that's what you want to get rid of, which would go in the compost pile too. Next year I'm building a greenhouse. This year I built the garden, and next year I'm building a greenhouse. So they will be able to start growing pineapples outside in the greenhouse. Now once you get here, we want to quarter this right on the core.
And if you quarter it on the core, then you can just go like this and cut those cores out. That easy. Like that. This is doing pretty good. Okay? And then once you have it here, we're going to do the same situation, just cutting it pieces like that. And you get tidbits or chunks or whatever you want to do there. And you go this way. And that's probably what, 3-4 cans of pineapple? If you got cans? So, I don't know how much cans of pineapple are, but you're going to save a ton of money by just cutting up your own. And pineapple works great in the freezer. Over in Hawaii, they were just throwing the whole pineapple in the freezer. The whole thing, without even cutting it. And then when they're ready for it, they just pull it out, thaw it out a little bit, and cut it up. So it's really amazing, and saving a lot of money. So, okay. Well, this butter here needs to be a little bit thicker. So I'm going to just put it in the blender here. And give this thing a quick blend. And make sure it's on low when you start it. Well, I guess that experiment didn't work too well. I'll just put that in the fridge. And when it comes out of the fridge, ta-da! Now you got butter. Yeah, that's good butter. So I'm going to just have like little spoons up here when people come through the line, just so you can taste it, taste the texture. It's amazing. It's just like, wow, you know. Now you can't use this for sauteing or anything like that, but it does melt pretty good on toast or on some veggies or potatoes, things like that. So you really love it. It's just got a great flavor. Okay. I guess what I should do is actually just share with you the scripture that really changed my life. Do y'all know Philippians 4:13?
Yes,
You do?
I can do all things through Christ that strengtheneth me.
Wow, yes, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, right? All right. That's not the meaning of that scripture. I can do all things. That's all about self. I can do all things. And just because you can doesn't even mean you will. So if you go into the original Greek on that scripture, there's never the word can in there. So you get rid of the I can, self, and the scripture actually goes like this. I do all things through Christ who strengthens me. What a total different meaning that scripture has when you get yourself out of the way. Now it's all about conviction. I do all things. And if you will simply put some conviction in your diet, God will do amazing things with your health. Put some conviction out there in your lifestyle. You know, get that stretching, get that exercising. After every single meal in the wellness center, 20-minute digestive walk. You want to lose weight? You need to get out there and do some exercise after every single meal. All right, what do you want to do after you have a meal?
Cuddle up and watch TV.
You want to take a nap. Everyone wants to take a nap after a meal. Well, if you go take a nap or relax after a meal,
cells. But when you go take a digestive walk, right? You're walking, your muscles are moving, they're saying, I need energy, I need energy. Hey, look at all this new energy coming into the body, let me grab it. So all your calories go to your muscle cells instead of your fat cells. The digestive walk is free. You know, most of the things I'm telling you are free. You know, it's just common sense. A lot of it's just common sense, but we don't have a lot of common sense in the world anymore, do we? I mean, it's just a nutty world. And it just works. It just works. You know, and you're going to save money. It is so much less expensive to eat a vegan, plant-strong lifestyle than it is any, that meat is expensive. I just got a picture of steaks at Costco. It was $56 for a ribeye steak. $56. It was a 4-pounder, but it was still, you know, it's crazy. And you're not going to have the doctor's visits. You're not going to have as many sick days. And I'll tell you what, I can't believe I used to eat the way I used to eat. And I have so much more energy and I'm healthier than I ever was. And I'm just so thankful that God showed me a better way to eat. So, all right. What else? Oh, we were going to do a drawing, weren't we? Let's grab those tickets. Yeah, we got to have a drawing to see who's going to do the dishes.